All right, folks, welcome back to another edition of the Red and White Podcast. This week we'll talk a little bit about recruiting or football recruiting, that is, and the week that was in basketball. I don't think either one of us are big recruiting guys. We've had some people ask us to cover recruits that are visiting and talk about who we're interested in, all that stuff, and frankly, I don't have the time to do that. I don't know if you do or have any interest in it, but I have a life that takes up more of my time than I can devote to 18-year-olds. But I do pay attention to it, so I do kind of understand where we're going with it and what we're trying to do. I think this class is a good class. They finished 8th in the ACC. In rankings, but there isn't much difference between 3 through 10. I mean, after your FSU and Clemson, all the classes are about the same. There's about a 1 or 2 difference between players, and we could be third right now. I think there's an interesting report that was on SB Nation that I'll come back to. It talks about how the top schools in each conference are out recruiting the entire rest of the conferences. Yeah, it's very interesting, and we'll touch on it in a minute, but I think our class finished 43rd. It's kind of an under-the-radar type class. Most of the guys, there's 7 of them were linemen that either committed early or were kind of unheralded, right? Part of that is if you commit early, you're really not going to get too much attention from the recruiting sites and from the other schools or whatever. Harrison Gee and Joel Sculthorpe are very athletic linemen, very good kids. Gee's dad played at NC State and in the NFL, so he comes from at least good line. And Sculthorpe is a state champion heavyweight wrestler, so he can move. But both of those guys weren't rated very highly, but they're going to be productive offensive linemen. So I think that kind of plays in part of why the class was ranked in the 40s. So if you consider that 7 of those guys were 2 stars or unranked, I think it's a pretty good class.
Yeah, the thing is, people will top 25 classes, but until we have final rankings of top 25, that's really going to be hard to pull off.
Yeah, there's definitely a correlation there. You got to win in order to get the attention of the recruits, right? I mean, that's just how it is. I've heard the term length, right? They've added length, so they got taller and longer guys. And that's what they kept saying. That's what all the other podcasts were saying. That's what the coaches were saying. But you don't want just fast guys. You want tall, fast guys. You want big, fast guys. And I think that's what they strive for. They're trying to get bigger, taller DBs to cover the bigger, taller receivers, and that makes sense. And I think they did that in this class, and that's what the coaches keep coming back to. It's like they might not have been highly ranked, but these are guys that we like their talent. We evaluated them. We think that they're going to be good contributors, and they have the size to do so.
Right. They fit into what the need is, I guess.
Yeah.
You could say.
Yeah, I think you have guys like James Valdez, who's from South Carolina, and he committed early, and he had scholarship. He had offers from South Carolina and a couple other places. And, they think he might be the gem of the class because he committed early. Nobody expected it to stick. But he's a very good corner. He's got the size, speed, and skills to do it. He probably would have gotten more attention had he not committed last year, I believe.
Right.
So there's a lot of guys like that. So it's hard to look too much into just the numbers because it just it plays a bigger role. There's more to it than just, hey, this guy was ranked this one. It's just how it is.
You think, I don't know. In my opinion, recruiting rankings in football don't matter a whole lot. Like if you put it side by side with basketball, for instance, you've got guys that develop more between senior year and freshman year of college that you just don't know what you're getting unless they're those, blue chip guys. But like you said, 2-star linemen, they could be at a 4-star level by the time they actually get to school.
Yeah, so that's absolutely right. I think there's so many more football players that it's just hard to evaluate, right? So
Yeah.
that's why the coaches, you can't go out and look at every high school game and watch every game. So that's why they do camps. And a lot of times a guy will perform well at camp and he'll get an offer. And I know Doran and his staff rely heavily on that. And that's the point of them having all these summer camps and getting all these high school kids in there and letting them work out and giving them the clinics or whatever they call them. It's to bring the recruits to them because there's a lot of kids in these small places and these just spread out that if you're not top 100, then you have to get seen, and that's how they do it. When you're talking about recruiting and the unheralded guys, SB Nation, I refer to SB Nation a lot. They put out a couple of really good recruiting pieces lately. The one they have here is offensive line recruiting pyramid and how coaches evaluate offensive linemen. And kind of top down says college ready linemen can lose some weight and unlock athleticism early in career. Starter material if he adds 15 pounds of muscle. And then at the bottom it says Hope Recruit can lose 35 pounds, keep strength, unlock athleticism, and Hope Recruit can add 35 pounds and retain athleticism. So it's basically you're taking a gamble. You have to evaluate a talent in order to figure out, are these guys, can they make it in college? I mean, I think you see everybody change and grow and develop after senior year in high school. So there's a lot of speculation and evaluation going on with recruiting. So it's more than just the outside of the top 100, right? There's more than to it than just rankings.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really interesting article. I think they referenced, I forgot who it was, one of the coaches as they were talking about UGA flipping some kid from Louisville or something, but why they did it and how they evaluated him and stuff. So it's good. We'll post it on Twitter and post it in our show notes because it's a pretty good read. It's pretty quick, 5-minute read or whatever. What else we got about recruiting? I guess there was a couple ones that kind of stung a little bit. Not landing Dexter Lawrence, and that one right down the road, 5-star in your backyard, had been recruiting for a long time. It's hard to blame a guy for picking Clemson.
Yeah.
I mean, for what they're doing right now. And I think from what the story was, that might have been the Rivals, the Wolfpacker podcast put out, said that Clemson used the hometown hero thing against us. So, it worked for Naheem Hines and Darian Roseboro, keep them close. You can help build something here. But he didn't want that kind of pressure and attention. And Clemson said, hey, come here. You're close enough, your family can still come. And we're playing in the national title game.
That's a cop-out.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to say you don't want the attention or the pressure when you go to a team that's going to be number one in the country. I mean, the spotlight's on you, much more than a rebuilding NC State,
Yeah, but at the same time, you have 5 other 5-stars around you, right? They're not necessarily going to be paying attention just to you. If he was here, everybody would be pointing at him. And he'd probably have a lot of attention from the local area and whatnot. I don't know. I get it. It's hard to blame somebody for picking Clemson.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, just say you want to go to Clemson.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like, that's it.
It's a nice small town. I mean, it's got a great college atmosphere. It's a football place, right? It's very SEC-like. So don't blame a guy for going there. It just sucks that he visited state like a dozen times, and everybody wanted him, and he had such a good relationship, blah, 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 and then, oh, yeah, I'm going to Clemson. Like, damn it. Yeah. I thought we had him more than I thought we were going to get Naheem Hines. And that was kind of strange.
Yeah. Oh, well.
The
it
one
just
that really,
sucks, too.
really,
It's a division team,
Yeah,
like we have to see him every year until he leaves. Yeah. It sucks.
So not only have to recruit against them, we have to play them every year and then have to beat them every year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's frustrating. The one that really got me, though, was Miles Dorn. So it's kind of a under-the-radar type story. I think Pack Bride put it out in their podcast. He had a ton of offers from the big boys. He's getting attention from Ohio State and Miami and just everywhere. And it came down to State and Carolina. and his dad played for Carolina, but his brother's on this NC State basketball team. He's sitting out, transferred from Charlotte. He's a big kid. He's a safety. He's just super athletic. I think we wanted him as an athlete, so maybe wide receiver or defense, but I think his preference must have been towards defense. But the part that really gets me is he was basically committed to NC State, or not committed, but he has a decision that he was, I'm going to go to state, and he felt good about it. Comes and visits for the Carolina game, and supposedly changed his mind in that first quarter when they just beat the piss out of us.
I mean, I would too.
But still, man,
what was there to get excited about?
But still, that stings.
Yeah.
That one really bites me when you lose a guy of his caliber to those chumps. Enough, but let alone because they whipped us in the first quarter of the game when he was on his visit. You're like, oh man.
Yeah, that's the ultimate bad situation.
Yeah, it really
that's
is.
That's his other final option,
Right.
And then, that kind of, if those are your two, why would you go to the one that just looked pathetic in that first quarter?
Yeah, so from the appearance of it, it looks like one program's on the rise and one program's not.
Yep.
Whether that's true or not, but that's how it looks like in the first quarter when you're getting just steamrolled, right?
And that's why, not just because of the hatred, but rivalry games are really important.
Yeah, they really are. From Doran prides himself on recruiting inward, so from the state and out. And you got to win those games if you're gonna hang your hat on that, right? Because people are gonna say, "Well, you just got whipped by Carolina." Whether or not the final score is close or not, they're gonna see that first quarter.
Oh, they beat our ass. Yeah. There's no scoreboard didn't do that justice. Right. And that's the thing. We could have lost the game and probably still got him, but it had to be a decent game.
Yeah.
And the first quarter, unfortunately, matters.
Yeah.
That was firework shit coming from their offense. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, no resistance on D, and that's it wasn't a good look by any means. But I think that one stung actually a little bit more than Dexter Lawrence, just because, man, this kid, he wants to come here. His brother's here, and then you lay an egg in front of him and just don't look good. I don't know. In the last SB Nation article I'll reference here is, oh no, it's not the last. It's my second one. I got one more. Is how the big guys in each league are out recruiting the rest of the conference. So, for example, Clemson and Florida State combined, or each have more combined top 100 recruits than the rest of the conference combined.
Yeah, it's hard to beat.
That's unbelievable, right? So you look at that and you're like, we got to play them every year because they're in our division. And they're out recruiting the entire. We can make an all-star team from the rest of the conference, and we might be on the same page, same level as them.
Yeah, and it sucks because you straight have to outcoach them.
Yes, and so
that's the only way to win.
That's exactly it. So that's when talking about. There's a huge disparity in recruiting, right? And everybody you can look at the top programs that win every year, and then the top ones that recruit every year, and so you have to win with scheme, coaching, and your evaluations in recruiting. That's why it's so important to have people want a guy that can recruit, but you want a guy that can evaluate talent. I think that's extremely important, especially when you're at our level right now. Maybe one day we'll get to a Clemson level, right? And you can be able to recruit a little bit with, hey, we're NC State, come to us. Now we're like, we got to find the guys and say, hey, this guy's going to fit.
Yeah, see, when it comes to those games, so that Saturday you're playing Clemson, I really look at it, okay, if you're NC State, you've got one way to win. You're Clemson, you've got two. Clemson can win with, good coaching can win a game, but they can also just out-talent you.
Right.
And it's going to be hard to look at our team and say we can just, we might make bad coaching decisions, but we can out-coach Clemson this game. Or, I'm sorry, we can out-talent them. That's not going to happen. So it's got to be like a perfect game plan. Like, no mistakes, anything like that. Teams with the talent can possibly make a mistake or two,
Right.
But it's like flawless football to win those games.
And I think if you can evaluate talent, you have a chance, right? If you have a guy that can go to a high school and say, I think this lineman, he's got the frame, he's going to grow, he's going to be, great offensive lineman, right? If you have that as a coach, then that's going to help you win. That's going to make up for some of your lack of coaching prowess, I guess.
Right.
And so I think it's important. I think you see it in, Baylor. What does Baylor do? I keep referencing Baylor because they were awful. If you look at historically, since the 90s, they were a perennial 4-win team. And then all of a sudden, they're winning 10, 11 games every year. When 3 years into Arbrow's career, they're winning 10 games. You're like, this is amazing. He really did a great job, and he did it by the scheme. He recruited fast guys that fit his scheme. And there are a lot of, their rankings weren't much better than NC State's for a long time. I remember looking at it a year or two ago. So they're running the same rankings we are, but their scheme has always been that much better than a lot of programs. And you see a lot of programs starting to copy them, TCU's and Oklahoma State's. But Baylor was the ones that started, to me, that was the one that started really running that spread effectively.
See, I think they got a quick jump start because of the type of offense they run and then the defense in their conference.
Yeah, and the lack thereof of defense in that conference.
That's what I mean. It was like the perfect storm for that, high-powered spread offense that he runs. It's perfect for the Big 12.
Yeah, it is, and it's perfect for Texas recruiting, right? You can get a lot of good football players from Texas, and they all run the spread in high school. So, he was just ahead of the game, and it's just put them in a better position. Right. I think that's really impressive to me. I love watching that develop. And that's why I think you have to stay ahead of the game from your coaching standpoint, because you can win with scheme, and when you're at a certain level, you're at a 4-win Baylor team level. You have to do that. And I think NC State's got to do that. We're going to be a perpetual 8-win team. So it's going to be interesting to see what Coach Drink does with the offense, and if he's able to out scheme him, because he's supposed to be a sharp offensive mind. So I'd like to see a little bit something different from us, and I think we will. The last article I'll reference, and it's kind of continuing on that same theme of recruiting and recruiting rankings, and this one is interesting though because the ACC ranked last of the Power 5 conferences in blue chip recruits, so 4 and 5 star guys. It's pretty close. I mean, there's not a whole lot of disparity between the third spot, which is the Big 12, and then the last spot, which is the ACC. There's just like a point differential when you're talking about average number of blue chips. But still, I mean, that's kind of telling, right? If we're relying on Clemson and FSU to do it, and then some other conferences are spreading it around a little bit, so we're definitely top heavy. It's part of the complaints that NC State fans and Syracuse fans and Louisville fans and Wake Forest fans are all going to have, because the Atlantic is so much better than, or historically has been so much better than the rest of the conference, that it's tough to win the Atlantic.
Yeah. And I think the conference rankings versus one another, I think a lot of that's just the unfortunate, it is what it is, of the ACC's geography.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Pac-12, they own California,
Yeah, we're butted up against the SEC in pretty much every market.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you go north, you got the Big Ten, south, and including sharing some of the footprint with the SEC.
Right.
So that's a tough draw.
Yeah, it is, and so I don't hold a whole lot of stock in it. I think it's interesting to see. I believe the numbers were, we were third if you do average rank of recruiting class. So in the entire classes overall, I think the ACC looks a little better. They're just not as top heavy.
Right.
Some of the schools, like SEC schools, are signing double-digit blue chip recruits. You're like, man.
Oh, to be Alabama.
Yeah, of course, Alabama's with the best class again. Yeah. It's going to be tough for anybody to ever compete with Alabama unless something crazy happens. Wow. Yeah, they got it rolling. Anyway, that's all my recruiting talk. I'll take a quick break and then we'll come back and talk about the ups and downs of the recent basketball week.
Oh, yay.
If there's one thing state fans do well, it's tailgate. And I know for me, the most important part of a tailgate is a well-packed cooler. You have to ask yourself two questions. How clean is your cooler, and how cold are your drinks? Nobody wants to reach into a dirty cooler and grab a warm beer. Now, I've put rock salt in my coolers for years to try and chill beverages a little bit quicker, but a lot of times I'll either use too little or too much, and I'll have a can filled with slush. I'm also guilty of being a little bit lazy when it comes to cleaning the cooler after I'm finished with it. Then I found Frostbite Cooler Salt. This isn't just salt, it's salt combined with safe and organic ingredients that clean your cooler while it's getting your beer super cold. The really cool part is that it doesn't just clean your cooler, but it cleans everything that goes into it. So when you pull that beer out, it's not just going to be super cold, but the can itself is actually going to be germ-free. And it comes conveniently packaged with the perfect amount to sprinkle over 20 pounds of ice. You can find it in a growing number of stores in the Raleigh area as well as online if you're outside the Triangle. So check out coolersalt.com, that's COOLER salt.com, to find the closest location to you and see how you can have a clean and cold cooler every time. Frostbite Cooler Salt. Colder, faster, cleaner.
All right, guys, we're back, and we're going to talk a win and a loss since the last time we talked to you, I guess. Wake Forest, if you go by conference, our real rival, according to the ACC. So, I mean, anytime you put up 99 points, it seems good, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
But it's Wake Forest. See,
Yeah.
And Cat just played out of his mind.
So that comes back to, like, there's some optimism there for what State can do because you're watching, like, man, we scored 99. And then you realize it's Wake Forest and they've lost 24 straight road ACC games.
Yeah. Plus, we were scoring that much because we were getting a lot of possessions because we were playing no defense.
Yeah, I mean, Wake Forest scored almost 90 as well.
Yeah.
So
it's deceiving score, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. There's some optimism there because you watch them like, man, they played pretty good. They were moving the ball, everybody was shooting well. And, they played hard. It was pretty close because they were down. I think they were down at half or down early. And, just won at the end of the game.
How
They
about
played-
the foul in the first half?
Oh, the one on Leonard?
Yeah.
They replayed it. I was at the arena and they replayed it, and everybody just went ape shit. And you saw the refs were all looking down. They were not looking up at the scoreboard or any of that. That was crazy. I couldn't believe that. Like, that's some NC State shit right there.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the worst ones. I mean, there
Like,
was
the guy
nothing.
kicked Leonard, and Leonard got the foul for it. You're like, what?
Like, just because you missed that. Yeah, whatever.
It wasn't even close. I mean, it looked like a foul. If I guess you're looking at it in full speed. The ball went off the top of the backboard. He had no chance of making it. And oh yeah, he must have gotten fouled. But if I'm Mark Godfrey, I'm throwing my jacket at the ref or something. I would have been super pissed.
Calipari got thrown out Saturday. He should have.
Who did?
Calipari.
Did he?
Yeah, it was like 6 minutes into the game.
Nice.
They were playing South Carolina, and he flipped his shit, got tossed.
Man,
So we need
that's
one
awesome.
of those.
Yeah. I figured Godfrey would probably break down at one of these games and just go crazy on somebody. He was surprised he didn't do it the Virginia game at his team.
Yeah. Well, the first half was pretty good.
Yeah, they played strong. They was tied at half, of Virginia's like, all right, I got a chance.
Yeah. And then all hell broke loose. I mean, they couldn't hit water out of a boat.
Yeah, that was tough, man. And it's coming because a good defensive team, what they're going to do? They're going to double team Cat. That's exactly what they did. They're not going to let Cat get 30 like Wake Forest did in the second half.
Did he lose Player of the Year for sure last night?
Dude, so that was so frustrating. I'm playing Xbox and watching the game at the same time. And I'm talking to my buddy, and I'm like, holy crap, did you hear what he just said? I think it was Mike Patrick doing the call. He said Malcolm Brogdon should be the ACC Player of the Year. And I was like, This is ridiculous.
I mean, he won the matchup last night, though. That's hard to. I don't know.
I think he won the matchup because the rest of our team's terrible. Maverick Rowland couldn't hit the broadside of a barn yesterday.
See, okay, when he's on, it's great, but if you take that many shots a game and 4 or 5 threes fall, I mean, you get the points, but if his percentage has to be awful.
Yeah, I think it's just part of being young. I think that's what you get from a shooter, though. Like, I'm going to go to the gym tonight and play, and I'll probably miss my first 10, but I'm going to keep shooting. It's just what happens.
Yeah, and I know he shouldn't even be playing that much, so.
Yeah, so that's a different conversation. Yeah, depending on. I just don't think they have anybody else that can really shoot, kind of stretch it out consistently. If you knew like Caleb was going to shoot like he did against Wake, then all right, let's give him some more time with Cody in there.
Right.
But we don't have a guy that can consistently do it, and so you're asking 18-year-old Maverick Rowan to come in and be your deep threat. And I think he can. I just think he's trying to find his rhythm. He's forcing it a little bit. And by the end of his career, he's going to be a fantastic shooter. You can see it's there. And he's got the right mentality. And I'd much rather him keep shooting. We're going to lose these games anyway.
Right.
Might let him get the shots up and get comfortable. I did like there was a YouTube clip, and it was Cody Martin and Torin Dorn talking about the team and whatever. They do little interviews, and they were talking about Maverick Rowan, like, oh yeah, we want him to shoot, and I think it was Cody or Caleb. One of the Martins said, Maverick's got 2 speeds, slow and snail. So we much rather want him to shoot. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody. I think he must light it up in practice. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess it's got to start happening in the game more than once every 3 or 4. But there again, he's 18, so
yeah,
he
used to be a senior in high school.
Yeah, not starting.
Yeah, starting in the ACC.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I guess this week it would have been what you expect, right? Beat Wake at home and then lose to Virginia. No.
Yeah, it is what you would expect, and I think they played Virginia closer early, and I was kind of happy with that. And then at the end, you're like, come on, man, what is this garbage?
Right.
And it comes down to you just don't have the guys that can score. We've said it 100 times on 10 different episodes that we don't have the guys that can shoot, and that's tough. That's hard to win like that,
Yeah.
I think we have Clemson, Carolina, Syracuse, BC, Notre Dame coming up. Those are our last 5 games, and we could very well. I guess we should beat BC. I think they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
They gave Carolina a run though, so you never know. But the other ones, I mean, Clemson, Carolina, Syracuse, Notre Dame, they're all playing well.
Yeah.
Those are all going to be tough games.
So, I mean, you're looking at probably one more win.
Yeah.
That's rough.
It is rough.
We're not even NIT level, are we?
No, not at all.
CBI?
NIT Stan is not going to invite us.
No.
But, get your expectations ready, people. Pitchforks are going to be out if we lose 5 of the next 6.
Yeah.
But it's a reality. We don't have the guys that can score right now. Their 3 best scorers outside of Cat are sitting on the bench.
Speaking of pitchforks, the response from last week's episode was a little bit better than I expected.
About what?
About the content of even bringing up the Godfrey might not be as good as everyone thinks he is.
Oh, yeah, your Tom O'Brien comparison. Sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been a long time since we recorded.
It has. I've been busy, and I apologize.
No, it's my fault.
But yeah, I don't know if I had some people that just argued whatever, but I don't think it's that. I think some people saw it, so.
Yeah, and I think it's a valid concern. It's a valid argument, at least.
Yeah, but
like I said, you can understand both sides of it.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling for Godfrey to fail. I like him. I think his personality's always been good, and he's done good for the program. I'm trying to look at it objectively.
You did some Twitter polls of
that's
ACC
right.
versus tournament. How did that go?
Yeah, so that was pretty split. So ours, it was ACC tournament. So that was the first one I put out. Would you want to win the ACC tournament or make an NCAA tournament run? I guess you define run by winning 2 more games or something. And I think the poll was, crap, now I need to pull up. I believe it was 60-40 was the percentage for people that wanted to win ACC tournaments versus NCAA tournament runs. So they kind of supported our call. It was like, do you think we're going to win the ACC tournament? Right? Is that your metric? That was what we kept talking about. Was their metric for success? So I was kind of surprised by that. And then our friends over at State Fans Nation took it one further, or twice actually, and they asked, would you ACC tournaments or Final Fours? And I think that kind of tipped the scales. People would rather go to the Final Fours. It was very close. It was in 2 or 3%, rather than making or winning the ACC tournament.
See, I would be on that board with that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that changes the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, but we don't do that. That's the thing.
Right.
That's not where we're at. So,
right. So I think the conversation was, well, I think the balance is NCAA tournament Sweet 16s or winning ACC championships. And I think that becomes a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
I think I'd still rather win the ACC.
Yeah, I would too. Duke wins the ACC a good bit, and they've been knocked out first round a couple of years.
Yeah.
But they're still ACC champs. That's the thing. We can go to the Sweet 16 one year, sure, but if we get knocked out in the first round, the next, what do we have to show for it? If we win the conference title going into that, that's a whole different ballgame.
So 400 votes, here it is. 45% wanted the ACC tournament win, and 55% said Final Four berth. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Let me find the other one. I tweeted at Julius Hodge and asked him, and he said his response was both.
Yeah, well.
I can kind of understand that.
Yeah, I would take both.
Yeah. All right, so here's the NCAA tournament runs. Is 48% and then 52% for ACC championship. So it's still pretty close.
Yeah.
But that skews it a little bit there. So I guess if you did Sweet 16s, you'd probably be right in the middle.
Yeah.
Which, it supports the argument for both sides. You can say, hey, Godfrey gets us a Sweet 16, but then I can say, hey, is he going to win an ACC championship? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think it's funny when people come back to us, and I think somebody tweeted us this morning or last night. It was like, is it easier to win basketball games at Virginia and Miami than it is at NC State? That's a tough one to think about.
Yeah.
But
I would say yeah, though. At Virginia, maybe not Miami, but
I think Virginia now, I'd love to go back and look at like recruiting rankings and historical success for Virginia versus us.
Right.
I don't think they were that great after like Curtis Staples years. There was a few years and they were just Like
I know it's conference, but just in the mindset of a kid wanting to go to a state. Oh well, God, I'm right down the road from Carolina and Duke. I got to play them all the time. I know it's the same situation for Virginia, but it doesn't seem as bad mentally.
That's true.
So I think that has a little something to do with it too.
Yeah, you're right. It very well could. I think it would play in our advantage if, I'm sure they do spin it that way. I mean, that's the question that always comes up. Hey, do you want to play against Carolina and Duke? Like, no. Yeah, I want to play against the best.
Right.
And Virginia's pretty. It's a really nice campus. I still, it still makes me wonder where's a better place or easier place to win basketball games,
Right.
It's a valid question. I don't know. Somebody with some time can go out and look at the numbers and see where Pete Gillen recruited and his success and see how that was. Because I'd be curious to know. But that's all I got.
Yeah, that's it.
Clemson Saturday, Carolina next Wednesday.
Great.
Yeah. Hopefully a lot of shots go in. I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
That's all we got. We'll try to record a little bit better next time.
Yeah.
On schedule, life gets in the way. You know that.
All
Anyway.
right, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks for listening. Go Pack.
Go Pack.